Horseshoe theory is a political concept that suggests the far left and far right of the political spectrum are more similar to each other than they are to moderate or centrist positions. The theory gets its name from the shape of a horseshoe, where the two ends curve toward each other. Instead of being opposites, extreme positions on both sides may share characteristics like authoritarian tendencies, rejection of democratic norms, or disdain for the political centre. This theory challenges the traditional idea that political ideologies exist on a straight-line spectrum from left to right. Horseshoe theory is often attributed to French philosopher Jean-Pierre Faye, who introduced the concept in the 20th century. Faye observed that extreme ideologies, despite their differences, often use similar rhetoric and tactics. His observations were shaped by the rise of totalitarian regimes in the early and mid-20th century, such as fascism on the far right and communism on the far left. Both regimes, though ideologically opposed, displayed authoritarian characteristics like censorship, suppression of dissent, and centralized control. Over time, horseshoe theory gained popularity as a way to understand why extremes sometimes appear to converge in practice. Now that we understand its origins, let's explore some examples to illustrate the theory in action. A well-known example of horseshoe theory can be seen in the shared distrust of mainstream media by both far-left and far-right groups. While their reasons may differ, both extremes often accuse the media of bias or manipulation. For instance, far-right groups may view the media as promoting liberal agendas, while far-left groups might criticize it for protecting corporate or capitalist interests. Despite their opposing viewpoints, this shared skepticism highlights a similarity between the two ends of the spectrum. Another example involves attitudes toward global institutions. Far-right groups often oppose globalization because they see it as a threat to national sovereignty and cultural identity. Similarly, far-left groups may criticize globalization for perpetuating economic inequality and environmental harm. Though their motivations differ, both sides might oppose trade agreements or multinational organizations, reflecting a convergence in their resistance to global systems. Now that we've examined examples, it's important to consider the criticisms of horseshoe theory. Critics of horseshoe theory argue that it oversimplifies complex political ideologies. By focusing on surface-level similarities, the theory can ignore the profound philosophical and practical differences between the far left and far right. For example, far-left ideologies often emphasize equality and collective welfare, while far-right ideologies might prioritize nationalism and individualism. Grouping these extremes together risks misrepresenting their core values. Another criticism is that horseshoe theory can be used to discredit legitimate political movements by equating them with extremism. For instance, labeling progressive or conservative movements as being too close to the ends of the horseshoe might dismiss their goals or concerns as extreme. This oversimplification can prevent meaningful discussion and undermine efforts to address systemic issues. Finally, critics point out that the theory itself lacks empirical evidence. While it is a useful metaphor, horseshoe theory is not based on systematic research or data. Its reliance on anecdotal examples and generalizations makes it a less rigorous tool for analyzing political systems.